Welcome to Wickerson Studios. We are continuing with the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of Grasshopper for Rhino. We've been through params, maths, sets, vectors, curves, and now we're in the surfaces, and we'll jump right into primitives. Not too hard. We'll go through them pretty fast. I've got some script here, and we'll downsize the Rhino and pull up the Grasshopper and make it a little larger. And I put in a couple of scripts just to make it a little more interesting than it actually is. But basically, you make a plane. Plane surfaces default so that they grow out in the XY directions only. And you can control that by whatever units you're set at. But if you throw it into a couple of construct domains with a negative, that can be pretty interesting because you see what happens. You end up measuring it so it moves out in all directions from the center, which is usually what you want to have as a piece of geometry, say you were going to orient it later. I also brought in a sphere in the center, put it to the same radii, and found a plane that folds through that. There's a nice little amplification called an inflate, so you can actually take that surface and move it beyond. Say you were doing booleans, that can be very helpful, not to be right at the edge. Say you were going to extrude those other shapes. Also grabbed a center box on plane, so you got your sphere, and your center box, bounding box will go around it. You can set that as a union box as well, but it wouldn't really matter because I only have one object right now. I grabbed a boundary deconstruct brep of that, which allowed me to grab the vertices. If you take a look at the vertices, I can choose the first one defaults to 0 or 1, no 0, so it'll grab the first one, and I grabbed a second one so I could actually grab the different vertices around that box. So as we go around, and you can see them kind of bouncing around. Well, interesting enough, if you take the 2-point box and put it in, obviously, depending on the points that you're grabbing, the first and second, you can grab edges, faces, and then the whole box itself if you were to extrude this point to that point. And so that's an interesting little play to get some geometries off of other boxes or isolate them. Anyhow, just something fun to do. We've got a rectangle here, and you see the same thing happens. It jumps out to the side, so using the same pattern of domains, you can center that around the center, and there you go. You've got a box that you can control that way. That said, you grab that and bring in a center box. This is the only one that really does box rectangle right here. It will grab it from the side, but if you grab a box rectangle from here, obviously you're going to have two different geometries, this one and this one. Everything else behaves around the center, so a center box is pretty nice. You have your rectangle. It will actually center it right there at the first point of that rectangle and bring it into the center box because it's only following the base plane. It's not actually following the rectangle itself. It's just grabbing the plane from that rectangle, and that works the same for domain box in a sense that, well, actually, domain box actually moves out in the XY direction from that center. So center box is going to put it there. Meanwhile, the domain box is going to put it there. So those are interesting things to consider. Cone's going to center itself as well around that plane. Cylinder is going to do the same, and a quad sphere, which is very interesting if you look at it. It's kind of like the very simple soccer ball. You have 6 sides, so it's treated like a cube that's been ballooned out. The quad sphere is different from the sphere, and I've used the sphere earlier, so that's why I just left it out. But the sphere is the same way. It defaults, and all I'd have to do is grab the radius and bring it down here, and boom, you've got, I'm not sure why the geometry didn't read huge in that one. There it is. Okay. Just gets that. Oh, that's because my quad sphere shrank because I took out the data. Sorry, we were looking at that one. So there's your quad sphere and there's your regular sphere. The last thing I have here, which is pretty simple, I brought in the bounding box. I then did a count of what was in there. I can downsize that or not. What's nice is it will average all those points and give you a sphere fit. So if you take the seed and change it, you can see subtle little changes, and you see that revolving seam on there, which can be very interesting to use. Say you have to pull data out. So another great way to use geometry is throw it into a bounding box, do one of these. You're changing your geometries a little bit in subtlety, and it gives you some cool parametric control for subtleties to change things like eyes or things that are a point of interest in your model. And that's a technique I might use as a very simple script. So whenever I get a simple script and I have an idea, I usually group it, and then I'll pop it up into a snippet. So kind of a interesting eye snippet, I could say. Anyway, I also grabbed 4 points exactly with a seed that grabs different 4 points, and I put that into a list item which grabs 1, 2, 3, 4 points and put it into a sphere 4 point. Once again, changing the seed, it's going to have a kind of cool vibration of where that sphere will jump and run wherever that bounding box is. what a wonderful way to get things active and have a lot of parametric control over whatever you end up wanting to build. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll keep moving on, and we'll next go on to probably freeform, then analysis, and then utilities. We'll try and do this in 4 sections, but I'll probably have to slow down because there's a lot of stuff to cover, and I want to put it into some half-decent scripts. I hope you're enjoying this. It's been a month making videos. I've gathered up a couple of hundred serious subscribers, and I'm very happy with them. And some of the welcome myself into some private pages that I've always wanted to be in when it comes to Grasshopper for Rhino. So serious group of people, great to hang out with them, and great to have a part, even though I know I'm still intermediate at best with what I'm doing. And I'm not coming at it like an architect, which this program seems to really facilitate. I'm coming at it as not as a product designer. I'm coming at it as a sculptor that's made an awful lot of things, casting-wise and fabrication, building, and architecturally on my land. So